We do get a lot of comments regarding how people's plants are growing this year. And a lot of it seems to centre around, why have I not got cucumbers yet? Why are my tomatoes not ripening? And so on. The problem with that is, there's nothing you can do about it. It's the weather. No 2 years when you're doing gardening are ever going to be the same. This year has been particularly bad as far as I'm concerned. We had a very bad start to the year because it was really cold for a long time. Spring didn't really seem like spring to me. We got into May, and May was more like April because there was that much rain. And then we've had June and July. And although in June we got some quite warm days, July feels more like November because it's quite cool. We've had constant rain, wind and thunderstorms, and it definitely wasn't like that this very day last year. Watch this snippet. Monday morning, and it is very warm today. I've just spent the best part of the morning going around our greenhouses making sure that everything has had enough water, because this afternoon temperature is going up to 87, so we best make sure that everything's watered early doors. I think we've got a couple of harvests again, so in order to keep these plants producing constantly we need to go and do a little harvest, but at the same time we can have a little check on other plants. I can see straight away we've got some more of these chili peppers. They're actually producing really well, so since they're a decent size we might as well take some of these. There's loads and loads of peppers on this plant. I think I want to take some of these beetroot today for pickling, and then I'll sow some more. So we can just basically twist them out if we wanted only one. Just do that. And then they'll come out as singles. And we'll get these on Cooking Channel at some point this week and get them pickled. Once again, we do have more of these green beans. So we'll get a couple of those off and all. We don't want them to get too long. There's a few beans. Pop them in his basket. Cherry tomato plants are coming on really well. Still getting lots and lots of tomatoes growing on these. And we've got a few more strawberries as well. And it looks like we've got even more peas. We're getting harvests a couple of times a week with these now, but we need to keep picking them. Especially when they get really fat like this. So that's looking pretty good so far. Got a nice bunch of peas there. Definitely got another cucumber and some more flowers coming as well. There's a little tiny one just there. So we'll take this big one off, give this plant a chance to grow more. Really nice cucumber that. There's a couple of these red onions left. I think I'll take one. They're not massive, but they're still usable. We've got a couple of cauliflowers again. Trying. This container Brussels plant is trying to grow some Brussels now. Hopefully we should get some of those by end of the season. In comparison, it does show you how the years can differ. We was harvesting beetroots at that size, really nice ones. We've got beetroots growing outside. They've been in there for a while and all we've got is leaves. They're not even attempting to bulb up yet. This very day last year, even though they were in this greenhouse, we was taking those big ready to harvest beetroot bulbs and getting ready to start pickling them. But at the same time, we'd got some really big cherry tomato plants. But none of those tomatoes were ripening. But this year, as you know from previous videos, we've been taking quite a few nice ripe cherry tomatoes off as plants. We was getting loads and loads of peas this time last year, fully grown big pods of peas, and those peas were Allotment, and we was blanching and freezing peas in bags. This year we've had some mange too, but the plants were nowhere near as fruitful as they were last year. It's because those plants got off to a good start. Everything this year has got off to quite a bad start. So especially when you're a new gardener, it can be quite disheartening when you think that you've put all that effort into your plants and they just don't seem to want to grow at all. And what has grown refuses to ripen. It will do in time. I think this year everything's going to be that little bit later than it was last year for definite. So all we can do is carry on and just wait. Those harvests will come. Maybe we'll have an Indian summer, an extended season. That would help a lot, because pretty much most of the growing season so far has been so unpredictable and up and down. Your plants struggle. These little cherry tomato plants that we're growing, they're not massive plants, but they're only in little containers, and we just keep getting ripe cherry tomatoes off them. And we've been taking these red cherry tomatoes off for about 3 or 4 different plants already. But once again, this time last year, everything was still green. We've got a melon plant just behind me. I'll show you what it looks like. That's a crimson sweet melon plant in a container. And it's got to a really good size. We've got flowers on it, so we're going to start getting fruit at some point quite soon. It's really put on some good growth. So I'm quite pleased with progress of that, considering it's just in a container. We've got that butternut squash plant that has grown even more now. No flowers at the moment, but they'll come. And all those tomato plants are right to the top now and full of tomatoes, as you probably saw on yesterday's video. I grew some crimson sweet melon plants last year and they really struggled, to a point that when I eventually put them outside to get them growing, 2 of them just completely died back. No matter what I did for those plants, they didn't seem to like it, and that's because last year it got too hot and a lot of us plants were struggling because of that. We had lots and lots of onions and cauliflowers, broccoli that were just bolting, going to seed. Because in UK it always seems like it's one extreme to other. It's either too hot or it's too cold. You never seem to get that mid ground, because then everything would equally thrive. We had potato plants last year that grew so tall, like this high, that as soon as we got a bit of wind, it knocked them all flat to the ground, which then affected the crop that we got at end of season. Whereas this year, all those potato plants are quite a reasonable height, so they're less susceptible to wind damage, which is good because we just keep getting a lot of wind around here. So far, they're alright. We've just got a second earlies now starting to die back, so we'll be harvesting them between now and end of July. But we really struggled last year with those potatoes. They was in the ground outside behind me, and some of the plants went up to 4 and 5 feet tall, and that's because it was so hot. Whereas other ones, which were cooler climate plants like your brassicas, just gave up and split open, went to seed. So no year is ever going to be the same. This year we're getting nice ripe cherry tomatoes. We're taking harvests of various other vegetables around the garden. Plants that we grew last year that didn't do very well are doing really good this year. We've got big peppers on some of his plants, whereas last year we had some peppers but we didn't have as many as what we've got this year, and they certainly weren't the size that we're getting at the moment. It swings and roundabouts, and you've just got to take it as it comes and adapt to whatever temperatures you get throughout that season. Maybe just extend growing those colder season plants and then hope for an extended summer. But one thing is for definite: we can control what we do with our plants in this greenhouse or out there. It's up to us when we feed them, how much water we give them. But the one thing we'll never ever be able to control is the climate. It's going to change every single year. So just work with it. And if you persevere, you are going to get harvests. One year might be later than another, but if you stick at it, you're always going to get something. Anyway, I've got a big bag of carrots in house that we harvested quite recently, and there's far too many carrots for me to eat over the next couple of weeks. And if we keep them in fridge, they're eventually going to start to go soft, and we don't want them doing that. So this afternoon on Cooking Channel, I'm going to freeze a nice big batch of carrots so that we can preserve them for months and months to come. And there's a link in the description to Cooking Channel if you've not joined that yet. Because I'm going to take every scrap of food I can get this year, what we grow in this garden, and I'll blanch it and I'll freeze it or I'll pickle it. I'll do whatever possible to keep us in homegrown food for months to come. And although the sun just came out for a little second then, there's a massive black cloud starting to build up, and this afternoon's forecast is very windy, raining and thunderstorms. I'll see you next time.